Let's go. I want to see the gritty. Yeah, I want to see the gritty.
This is what the Secretary of Defense looks like out in the wild. A well-documented drunken mess.
So the president is sending a message to other cartels, right?
A very clear one. I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
Well, this was a lie, wasn't it?
He runs around on a stage like he's a 12-year-old playing Army. And it is ridiculous. It is embarrassing. And I can't imagine what our allies think of looking at that guy in this job, one of the most important jobs in our country. In my view, after the President of the United States, it is the next most important job. He is in the National Command Authority for Nuclear Weapons. And last night, he's putting out on the internet turtles with rocket-propelled grenades. Have you seen this? This is the Secretary of Defense. This is not a serious person. He should have been fired after Signalgate.
Arizona Senator Mark Kelly took him to task.
Last night I saw the president say, "Oh, Pete told me it was okay, that he didn't conduct a second strike." Well, that's easily disprovable, because if there were any weapons used against these boats, they were filmed. They have to be filmed because it's a laser paint of the ship. We had the first part of the film. Was there a second part where we can see exactly what happened? There's pretty clear evidence in all this.
This is a very good point. Again, Pete Hegseth, Republicans bragging about the kill strikes, killing everybody in the waters. Right now, it's a dangerous time legally for Pete Hegseth. Yep. It gets more dangerous if he is spending this time furiously going around, trying to cover it up, trying to make phone calls. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying this is when people really get in trouble in his position. This genie is out of the bottle. And that's why nobody has said that President Trump knows what was going on, but they certainly have said Pete Hegseth delivered the kill orders. And so now if Pete Hegseth is going around trying to cover this up, this is when a situation goes from being very dangerous for him to being even more dangerous. And the evidence is there, the names are there. The House Armed Services Committee, the Senate Armed Services Committee, they've got the details, getting the details. And how interesting, the Democrats, when they released that video a week or two ago, 3 months after these kill strikes and the kill orders, the alleged kill orders, they knew what was going on. And it's hard not to believe that's not the reason they put that out.
This type of incident, where survivors were shot as they were clinging to a boat. That happened in World War II. Japanese soldiers shot Americans who were clinging to boats. Those Japanese soldiers were later convicted and executed. Because that is indeed a war crime. That's how serious.
Then there was this.
Can you talk about the autonomy that's given to the commanders who are carrying out these operations, like Admiral Bradley, to make decisions? Like in this case, I'm assuming the first strike took out the boat and any actions that followed. Can you talk about the autonomy they're given?
Absolutely. So the Secretary has been very clear in every statement that we've released about these strikes that they are presidentially directed. And the chain of command functions as it should. And we make sure that commanders on the ground are taken, their positions are taken into account, and they are able to tell us and make decisions if they see things that need to be flagged. But at the end of the day, the Secretary and the President are the ones directing these strikes. And any follow-on strikes like those which were directed by Admiral Bradley, the Secretary 100% agrees with.
Say hello to Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson. She made it quite clear the Caribbean strikes fall on Trump and Hegseth. Meanwhile,
at your confirmation hearing, my Democratic colleagues and I rightly questioned whether you had the requisite qualifications and experience to lead the DoD, the largest federal agency, especially given your checkered past, which included paying $50,000 in hush money to settle a sexual assault allegation against you, and driving 2 veterans organizations into the ground. After only months on the job, our concerns about you have proven true, as far as I'm concerned. Instead of strengthening national security, you've turned the Pentagon into a dysfunctional mess. You are jeopardizing military operations and service members' lives with your unprecedented action of texting classified military plans to anyone who might stroke your ego.
Pete Hegseth needs to resign, and if he doesn't resign, Donald Trump needs to fire him. He is a walking, talking national security embarrassment. He seems more interested in winning video pull-up contests than he does in protecting this nation. He's obsessed with the weight of his soldiers, the facial hair of his soldiers, not concerned with actually keeping the country safe. He's leaking classified information. He's banning reporters from the Pentagon. There's no mainstream outlet right now that is telling you, the American public, what's happening inside the Department of Defense. But maybe most egregious is what we learned in the last week, that Secretary Hegseth gave a grossly illegal order, an illegal order to kill everyone aboard this vessel in the Caribbean, an order that ended up with our military not just shooting at the boat, but then shooting at the human beings who were swimming from their lives amidst the wreckage. That is not allowed under U.S. law. It is deeply immoral. And we simply cannot protect this country adequately if we are a moral embarrassment in the eyes of the world, if we have a Secretary of Defense who is enthusiastically giving outright illegal orders to the chain of command below him. Every single day that Pete Hegseth is at the Department of Defense, this country is weaker. You are less secure.
Democratic senators are making their voices heard once again.
We need to talk about Pete Hegseth. It looks like now the reporting is showing that we have possibly committed war crimes in the attacks on Venezuelan vessels. If it's true that we dropped a second bomb in order to kill survivors, that is absolutely a war crime. There needs to be an investigation, and we need to make sure that the people conducting illegal activity are held accountable. This is what I want to do in the United States Senate. I want to make sure that we use the power of the Senate to hold those in power in the executive branch accountable for illegal actions. At a minimum, we need to be seeing an investigation here. At a minimum, we need to see the United States Senate, the House, actually look into what occurred and make sure that the American people learn the truth. Because if the Secretary of Defense is overseeing strikes on innocent people and then killing survivors, that is something the American people need to know.
Graham Plattner, who is running to unseat Susan Collins, is telling you what he will do if elected.
I'm not sure either, sir, but down 91% by sea. We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now, which is the entire point. Right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach.
Aside from the forced laughs of the demons that walk amongst us, take a look at what Hegseth's name card reads. Secretary of War? Is the name card drunk as well?
He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about process. He doesn't care about accountability. He cares about views on his Twitter account. And that's a big problem. I want to ask you guys this question. Have you ever in the history of our country seen a less qualified or less professional Secretary of Defense? I cannot think of one.
After all this went down, Hegseth posted a meme of Franklin the Turtle, and obviously he made a mockery of it by pointing to the strikes and basically saying that, they're guilty. That's when Franklin's publisher put out this statement. Franklin the Turtle is a beloved Canadian icon who has inspired generations of children and stands for kindness, empathy, and inclusivity. We strongly condemn any denigrating, violent, or unauthorized use of Franklin's name or image which directly contradicts these values. Mohammed Safa would write of Hegseth, if the United States is at war, then Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. If the United States is not at war, then Pete Hegseth is a murderer. I work in international law for over 10 years. What Pete Hegseth ordered the military to do violates international law. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.